Now I turn this on.
I've discovered a new metric for whether a thing is likely to interest me or not.
Okay.
Is its total runtime or the time taken to consume it, if it's an article, say, right? Like its total read time or its total watch time or its total listen time. If that time is anything less than about 35 minutes, I just categorically reject the veracity of the piece.
Wow, that's
Wow.
Which, unfortunately, and I don't want to be this guy, but that basically puts every single TED Talk off the table for me. But I really do, I'm starting to get to the point where any kind of shallow look at a thing just offers me absolutely no merit, which is not to say they're not meritful. I'm sure there's lots of people who need a quick, digestible introduction to a thing, and that's totally fine. Like if you're just trying to expose yourself to new ideas or whatever, that's totally cool. But I found for me now, like Vox videos and stuff like that,
yeah, okay.
I'm just sitting there going, you have literally taught me nothing. Nothing of meaning, nothing of value.
See, I only go for 4 minutes or less. Did we ever decide what sounds better if you've got a thing that's big and also a thing that is good?
A good big. A big good.
Big good.
It both sound bad.
They both
to me.
sound terrible. Why is that? I do not know.
Do you know why? Because it sounds like, and I only know this because I've had occasion to be exposed to a lot of it, it sounds like toddler English. It
Something you
sounds
might
like
open up the book, the big good
yeah.
cat on the fat red rug.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's the two most essential, like if words were animals, big and good are like the cat and the dog of the animal world, right? Like you learn them first.
Yeah, good point.
The Commonwealth Department of Finance and Administration, and it's used in many academic, and it's also used in many academic forums as well.
God, it looks like a light read.
Oh, it's fantastic. No, seriously, if you ever want to know anything about hierarchies, about making sure that your documents are legal, reproducing things, even how to, what's the difference between different kinds of setting up of your papers, it's got it all in here. It's actually really intriguing.
Kylie.
I'm such a dork.
It's not really intriguing at all. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be declarative on this, but it is definitively not really interesting.
My favourite page is the one about common proofreading marks, and it made it so much easier for me
nice.
to help students out so they can just check it out.
Oh, God damn it, Kylie, you made it interesting. Now I want to far out.
I had the best experience 2 air trips ago where I had the opportunity to see those little trainee sniffer dogs. They were introduced to their travelator for the very first time. I've got videos and I'm going to post it on Facebook.
Oh, my God, that is
so cute.
It's like refined adorability.
Yeah. It's like, where am I going? Mommy, you're flirting. Where am I going? I'm not even moving. And off.
So I just got done with athletics at my school, right? And so one of my jobs was just to sit by the discuses and the shot putters and have them measure things, right? Now, if someone was to throw a discus, right, and then I said, oh, actually, I can't quite see where it hit. Not that you would ever do this. Could you bring it forward, please? Where would that discus go? Closer to me or away from me?
It would go farther along its trajectory.
Do you really think that?
Forward.
Like, let's say someone just threw a discus, right? And I'm standing next to the discus thrower, and there's someone out there with like a measuring thing, right? And I say to that person, I can't quite make out where it hit. Could you bring it forward, please? What do they do with that discus?
They move it away from you.
No, they bring it towards you.
Do you really think that?
Well, hang on. If you said, oh, we're done now, could you bring the discus back? According to your metaphor, they take that thing and go over the hills with it.
No, but I think bring it back.
Me.
I think bring it back in that particular context isn't saying move it back. Because if I say move it back, that's a different thing. Bring is obviously a very
bring and pull. Those are two words that we use for that.
Whereas if you're just using the word move, right, which is independent of vector, right, move it forward or move it back. Move it forward to me, move it back from me.
I can see where back would be retracting it, moving it farther away.
Yeah. But you can't really see how forward implies towards you.
Forward, it depends on what forward means. And again, it depends on the metaphor you're using.
Daniel,
I would
so
be the
rarely
child
say
standing
this.
in the sandpit just crying, saying, I don't know what Mr. Ben wants.
Sports. To be fair, I'm the teacher who's like, I'm not good at sports. Just look, make up a number. I don't care. Can I just, wouldn't it have been fun if instead of finishing off the question with what day would it now be, they just wait and see who shows up when?
You got to put your money on where your mouth is.
Some really bored experimenters sitting there just playing Scrabble going,
just
okay, eventually this is going to work.
All right. Oh, so you've arrived today. Great. You don't have to say anything. You can just go home now.
You can sit with us and watch more Netflix. We're binging. Yeah.
And then you just watch for the guy who shows up like the week later. He's like, I got confused.
And you know what? This relates to another huge, in fact, possibly the thing that annoys me about my own language the most. Can we please just develop an agreement between next and this, okay?
Oh, right, yes.
And I would very much like it if everyone could just adopt my way because it makes sense.
What's your way? When it's the very next one, then it's this Friday?
Exactly. And to say next in that context does nothing but create more work for everyone. So we've got a meeting next Wednesday. Oh, okay. Do you mean this Wednesday?
When you say next Wednesday, did you mean this next coming up?
And if they say yes to that, I feel like just killing them on the spot because clearly they're going to go through the rest of their lives taking seconds of time away from people every day of their lives.
You know,
I'm sorry.
A few years ago, we talked about a word that I think would help you. The word was oxed. And oxed specifically means not this one, but the one after that. I'll see you oxed Thursday.
See, but we have that.
But we have that Thursday week.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, people should just use that.
Sorry, it just reminded me of someone telling you about how they managed to get out of paying a $200 fine. They said that if they had to go to a doctor's meeting and if they cancelled it, any earlier than a week, they had to pay $200. So they simply phoned them up and said, "Hi, can I postpone my doctor's appointment for 3 weeks in advance?" And it's okay, yeah, sure. Put it 3 weeks in advance and said, "And now I'd like to cancel it." That way they didn't have to pay the fine.
No, you're the nice one. You know what? You're the Sam Harris or the Richard Dawkins, but with like incredibly high amounts of social awareness and emotional intelligence. Like you know exactly, and I've seen you do it.
You're very kind.
You know exactly when to be like, and this is the line. Like you can identify really clearly, and I see you do it all the time online, especially where you just kind of go,
I've said my bit.
No, well, basically like everything after this is just sunk cost fallacy, right? Like I'm literally just pouring time and energy into a totally lost cause. So you go out, you go, here's some well-reasoned evidence, here's some things that I think, here's a few other bits and pieces. You don't mind being a little bit cheeky while you do it, which I, of course, have a huge affection for. I particularly liked your, did you wash your hands after handling that reference? That was a particularly good one.
Thank you.
But for the most part, you go, here's my bit, and then people go, blah, blah, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go play with my baby now.
That's what I do.
It's like people in nightclubs, they look at you and say, oh, shit, I think he's CIA. Well, at least I might have a decent conversation with him as he drags me away in order to be arrested for terrorism or whatever.
Like I've said before, my internet mantra comes from Billy Joel. It ain't no big sin to stick your 2 cents in if you know when to leave it alone. And
when to hold them, know when to fold them.
I just do a lot of leaving it alone. I said, well, I've said my bit. Thanks, guys.
Cool. I worry as well that and I'm going to get sci-fi again. I'm sorry, everyone. I know I do it a bit. But I think this is a genuine concern. I think this is going to keep getting better. As in, what was the name of the software?
Perspective.
I think Perspective or an analog of Perspective is going to keep getting better at this. And then one day it's going to start getting worse. So we're going to go, why is it calling all of this stuff toxic that I don't think is toxic?
And we're going to start gaming the system, do you think?
No. The system is going to start gaming us.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to keep getting better and better and better until it starts getting worse and worse and worse. And when it starts getting worse and worse and worse, and we can't explain why, that, I reckon, is going to be the point where the system has learned our minds better than we have.
And so stop commenting! No comments for anyone!
It's basically going,
suck!
I think it's going to start false positiving, but the only false positive is the false that we attribute to the positive.
Hey, I wasn't toxic.
I wasn't toxic at all.
I don't care. Go home.
And the computer's just going, much like an adult does when a toddler comes up and goes, no, angry, and then like hits them gently on the leg. The computer is going to gently take that hand down and be like, I'm sorry, but we don't behave that way.
So getting advice is something you should not be ashamed of.
Kylie and Daniel and I mean, referring to myself, do we need to just do like a soft lens, black and white Vogue nude cover shoot just so we can just sort of like
get
break
it on the
the ice, right? So no one has this to hold over us because it's already out there. It's already like a big... We can do one of those great lobby shots where we're all sort of like draped over various pieces of expensive furniture. And
do you remember how we had that issue about time, about bringing things forward or bringing things like... I think you can just agree that no matter what time you set up this photo shoot, I'm not going to be there.
Postpone. A friend of mine had a wonderful Facebook status relating to it, talking about how they were getting their 8-year-old daughter to fill out their two surveys because they had just so much resentment for the fact that it was a thing.
Right.
But the 8-year-old didn't. The 8-year-old found it to be this like really, she felt really like engaged and like I'm like right now I am giving gay people their rights, right? Like that was the conception that the little 8-year-old brain had. And so my friend, the mum, kind of goes, look, this whole thing is real dumb and I don't like it and I don't agree with it. The thing being the vote. But I have a suspicion that my daughter is going to remember for the rest of her life this one tiny slice of time and being excited about it and being positive about it and all that kind of stuff. So at least allow that to be a positive moment in an otherwise kind of dumb set of circumstances surrounding this whole thing. Well, I mean, I don't know about you two. I would assume you exist in worlds similar to mine where email is a thing that regrettably you have to do far more of than you would probably like. What's your inbuilt follow-up time frame? You've sent an email to someone. You haven't heard back in X days. What's X before you send a follow-up?
3.
See, Kylie?
Yeah, I'd probably say about 2 or 3. I'd try to be more on top of it. I'm just trying to find if I can see a famous fellow, Ben Goldacre, who used to have a standard response in regards to emails, which was quite funny. So I'll see if I can find that for you.
Yeah, do.
Whereas I'm probably close to like 5 working days, right? Like, so if I haven't heard back by the same time the following week, then I'll send a follow-up email. But the point is, I feel like the follow-up email is already built into our entire cognitive framework when it comes to emails anyway. Like, who in this world sends an email, doesn't hear a reply, and then does nothing else in regards to that situation? 0 people.
I'm trying for a day. 1 day turnaround.
As in when stuff comes into you.
Gets to me, yeah.
Yeah, I tried for 48 hours if I can. The scientist Ben Goldacre, who's going to be coming to Australia in February next year, he used to have this sent out and now he's done the wise thing and he's got actual agents and stuff like that. So his workload has gone down a bit. But back in 2009, he used to have... Ben is experiencing spectacular email backlog on the edge of declaring email bankruptcy. But that probably won't stop him from getting back to you. If it's about a talk, the answer's probably no these days. Sorry, as I've got a day job, unless it's free and open to all comers. If you sent a story, thanks. If it's about anything else in particular, if I owe you something, the deadline's passing, I definitely know, and I'm glad of the prod.
Good.
I used to send that every single time. Now, thankfully, his workload has shifted a little bit, and yeah, there are people who can help you out with that.
God, wouldn't it be amazing to hit the threshold of fiscal productivity where you could just be like, hey, all of these parts of my job that I hate, meet Adam, the new part of my psychology who I have hired to just handle all of that.
That's what I'm shooting for.
Yep. You need a bag man.
Yep.
You want just a little person to follow you around being like, oh, actually, just in case you'd forgotten, you do actually have a lunch, an informal lunch meetup with someone that you agreed to last week.
No, I would hate that. I hate having people that involved in my life. Also because I like doing random things where I suddenly say, tonight, I'm going to go see a documentary. It's going to be showing in half an hour. That gives me just enough time to jump in the car, grab myself a popcorn and head on in. I'm very random.
Do you like doing that at the expense of things that you have double booked yourself and are forgetting about?
I've got a calendar that looks like an absolute nightmare from hell.
So this is the thing, right? So I would want an Adam or a Sandra, right? Like gender isn't not important. In my life, just to be, so like I'm like you, I'm 100%. I'm like, you know what? Like this morning, I was like, I'm going to go for like a 2.5-hour bike ride because take that, universe.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was fine. Except I really need an Adam to be like, Ben, just so you know, you did actually agree to meet someone for coffee during that time. So you will be perceived as a dickwad for forgetting about them. That's the Adam that I need.
I remember that one time, that famous phone call, where the hell are you? And I had to answer back, New York.
Nice one.
Nice.
And that was for my husband. Where the hell are you? New York.
How did you go to New York without your husband realising? Is he particularly daft?
He's Scottish, and I think he thought I would be elsewhere. Yeah.
Oh, as in, like, you had informed him that you were going to New York, but he was just like, where's dinner?
No. He thought, I thought you were coming. No, that's next month. Oh, right. Shit. Okay. Yeah.
Well, have fun in New York.
Yeah, exactly.